Good morning. It is way too early and it is way too rainy. A little after 7 and I just got back from walking Rosa in this nasty weather. I have committed to waking up half an hour earlier than I usually do this week because it's just one of those weeks where I have so much I need to get done, and I think that half an hour every morning will help. I have to work on Dragon Balloon because I did not do it this weekend, and I committed to getting through the bad guys close in of my zero draft by Friday, and I haven't done a damn thing. So yeah, let's see what kind of day we have here. So after going on a run and taking a shower and getting so much shampoo in my eyes that I can't even wear my contacts, and no, I'm not going to show you my face because I look like a monster, I am going to make some coffee. And happily, this last week was my birthday, and my parents got me this super fancy coffee maker. It has so many settings. It even has a frother. Alright, it is getting close to noon and the sun has come out. So we are going to go on a walk. Is that what we're gonna do? You wanna go on a walk? Okay. Short story is done. That draft is sent to the client. I answered a few emails. I answered comments on the video that went up today. I messaged another client because today is technically day 1 of our new collaboration and I'm starting an outline. And it's 1:30 and maybe I should have something besides coffee in my stomach. Probably be good. So I'm gonna eat something. And then Dragon Balloon time. I lied. I'm gonna have more coffee. Okay, here's what's going on. It's just about 3 o'clock. I did get caught up in some emails that came in, a lot of them from a few different clients, and I had to play catch up there. So 3 o'clock and all the not Dragon Balloon related things on my to-do list today are done, and that's pretty great. Waking up early is, I mean, it helped today, so gonna keep that going tomorrow. In about an hour, I'm gonna have to start doing other not work-related personal tasks, so I've got an hour to work on Dragon Balloon. That is great. I am looking at my Save the Cat spreadsheet right now. It's beneath the camera, and bad guys close in. So here's the thing. This is gonna change. Right now, I have 4 bad guys close in scenes on my beat sheet, and that feels like not enough. But as I mentioned in my last couple of videos, I think a lot of the scenes that I wrote, especially in the fun and games section, as I was zero drafting them, I was realizing, okay, this beat or this scene, this is actually 2 scenes, or in some cases maybe even 3 scenes. This zero draft is so sparse. It's really, like I keep saying, just a super messy outline that has some dialogue in it. Like that's really just what this is. So I'm thinking that's going to be the case here with these 4 bad guys close-in scenes. I really just want to power through and get some ideas down for the rest of this book through the finale, because I have decided that I'm at that stage now with the way I work, the way my brain works, and the way I treat my contracted work versus my creative, fun, may never make me money projects, but I hope they make me money someday. Is I will always sacrifice this for this. And you gotta eat, right? I mean, you gotta pay your rent, you gotta make money, and I enjoy working on these things, but I'm always pushing this aside. I push this aside to make YouTube videos. I push this aside to do the freaking dishes. Like, I will always find reasons not to work on the thing I most want to work on. And I know a lot of writers are that way, and I'm sure there's a great psychological explanation for it. Fear of failure, maybe? I don't know, but that's how it is. Anyway, I need to buckle down 1 hour on this book, and I am giving myself a deadline, and that deadline is that on April 1st, which is a month from today, today's Monday that I'm filming this, March 1st, 1 month from now, I want to start drafting this for real. I want to go back to the top and really start writing a first draft, however sloppy, but like a real legitimate first draft. And right now that's a daunting thought because this is a kind of a big, complicated book, and there's these two sides that I'm trying to balance, and I'm gonna be drafting both stories at the same time. And when I think about that and I look at my beat sheet and my zero draft, I'm like, there's still so many details I need to fill out. There's still so much I need to figure out. So I feel like a little bit of anxiety, but mostly I feel excited because I'm seeing, like, really clearly seeing so many scenes of this novel in my head. I can hear the voice. I know exactly what I want it to sound like, and I'm just kind of itching to get to that first draft stage. Most of the time, I really enjoy drafting, and I want to get there. And also, that would put me on track to maybe have a draft to send to beta readers by the end of May would be reasonable, and maybe something to show my agent over the summer. And that would put me on track, again, depending on what she says, to potentially going on submission in the fall. And going on submission with something new this year has been my big goal. So anyway, that was really long-winded. Right now, 1 hour. Let's see how much Bad Guys Close In I can get through. I'm having a small crisis about this book. Stay! Okay, that was ridiculous. Over the last few days, something has been like, you know what, I'll be honest, since I started this project, there's been one thing about it that has been itching at me, and I thought I had figured it out when I started making my beat sheet, but lately the doubts have been creeping in, and I emailed my friend Lindsay, who I've mentioned a bunch of times. She's the one that I've been talking this book out with, and she emailed me back with some really great thoughts. And I just spent the last like half an hour reading through all of the zero draft I have so far with this issue in mind. And I think I've identified kind of a fatal flaw here. Fortunately, it is a fixable flaw. The problem is that I really thought that this was a middle grade concept, but this book is actually young adult. And that might not sound like a huge issue. And you know what? It would be if I had already written a draft, and I have been there before. In fact, years ago, I wrote what I thought was a middle grade fantasy, 80,000 words, revised it, polished it, sent it to my beta readers, including Lindsay. And she and I met up at a cafe to talk about it. And she was like, so here's the thing. This book is not middle grade. This book is young adult. And as soon as she said it, I was like, oh yeah. And this is embarrassing because I have done talks and presentations on the difference between middle grade and young adult. I know the difference, but it's just easier to identify this stuff in other people's stories than it is in our own. You know what I mean? It's hard sometimes to see our own flaws. Sometimes it feels like all we see is our own flaws, and then sometimes things miss us entirely. The core difference, in my opinion, between middle grade and young adult is that the character in a middle grade story is learning how she fits into the world, and a character in a young adult novel is learning how she can change and affect the world. And there's a lot of other things that go along with this, but when I go through all the points in my head that I have made in past presentations on these differences, every single thing about this book that I'm writing fits in the young adult boxes. Now, why does this upset me? This upsets me for really dumb, nonsensical reasons. First of all, I feel like, and I want to preface this by saying, if you're writing a young adult fantasy right now, I really don't want to discourage you at all. Please keep working on it. I just feel like right now, the YA fantasy market is really, really, really saturated, and it might be a little bit harder to get a book deal. That said, on the flip side, I personally might have a better chance at getting a young adult deal than a middle grade deal, because I have multiple middle grade novels published, all with lackluster sales, whereas any young adult novel that I would come out with next would technically be my YA debut. I have one young adult novel, but it's co-authored with 2 other authors, and that doesn't quite count. So if I took a young adult fantasy and it went to acquisitions, they would look at my previous sales, but they would also know that this would be marketed towards a completely different audience, different readership. You see why this is idiotic? I am speculating. I am trying to decide what to do with my book based on things that are totally out of my control. I might not sell if this is young adult. I might not sell if this is middle grade. I might not sell if this is adult. I would so never ever want to see one of my students or friends or anybody thinking this way and letting this affect their book that they're passionate about. And yet here I am doing that. So what I need to do is put pause on this 0 draft. I'm still committed to starting this draft by April 1st. But if I'm going to reconceptualize this as young adult, then I really need to go through and read through the 0 draft really, really carefully. If I was listening to somebody else go through this, I would slap that person and say stop and just write the book you want to write. So I need to step away and figure that out and think this through. And tomorrow, I'm looking at my work schedule and my planner. Tomorrow, I have to finish an outline for a client. Hopefully I will know where I am by then, and tomorrow afternoon I'm going to spend it on the 0 draft and get back to work on this Bad Guys Close-In. But first of all, I gotta figure out, I gotta figure out what I'm doing here with this book. Whew, okay, this took a turn I was not expecting. Yeah, we'll check in tomorrow. I don't even know what else to say. Hi. Everything's fine. So, yeah, I got a little bit overwhelmed thinking about all that stuff yesterday. That was yesterday. It is now Tuesday. And I just needed to step away. Obviously, I did not write any Bad Guys Close-In scenes. I have not written anything since then. I have done a lot of thinking about this. I did read through Lindsay's email and we went back and forth, and I still have another response I need to write to her, but I've landed on this book needs to be YA, and I have worked through why I was trying to make it middle grade. The funny thing is, in the beginning of this idea, I might have said this in my vlog, I definitely thought it. In the very beginning stages of this idea, I was trying to force it to be YA instead of letting it be middle grade. An idea can be any age level. I mean, that's not true of all ideas maybe, but for this idea, I could write this as an adult fantasy if I wanted to. As I developed it though, as I came up with the plot and worked on the beat sheet, certain things started to happen, and I started to see the main character's inner journey going a certain way and her external journey going a certain way that were pinging in the back of my brain as being, this might be a little too old for middle grade. Example, I told you guys this, there is a road trip. A friggin' road trip, and no, there are no parents on this road trip. I am not talking about a bunch of 12-year-olds, stealing a car and driving across the country or anything like that, but my justification for it is that some of the kids in this group that she's traveling with are teenagers. One of them is actually the older sibling of the main B story character that my main character Logan really connects with. And as Lindsay pointed out to me, like, even that is a stretch. One, that any parents or guardians would be cool with this, and side note, they're not, but I had to jump through a lot of hoops to make this road trip realistically happen. But it's also not really realistic that 16, 17-year-olds would be cool with hanging out with 8th graders. I mean, maybe some would be, but like, it was stretching. It was asking the reader to suspend a little too much disbelief, and also running that risk of, you know, the very real reality that a lot of booksellers and teachers and librarians or parents are going to be like, is this seriously a book about a 13-year-old going on a road trip with a bunch of teenagers she met on the internet? And part of me really hates that we all have to think of things like that because it's fiction. But also, on the flip side, I see the point. It's not great. It's not a good look. It just makes so much more sense if Logan is a few years older. So that is where I am. Where I was still struggling yesterday, as I kind of gradually started to accept this, was I had very mixed feelings about how much my views of the market and what is sellable should impact my writing. I will be honest, I am not into the whole kind of purist idea where you should only 100% write exactly what and how you want to write without any regards to selling. That only works if you truly are writing for fun and for yourself. If you are, freaking great, do that. But I'm not doing that. I am an author. It's my career. It's how I pay my rent and my bills. And I need to consider salability. And I want to, because it's not just about the money. I want people to read my books. And some things just aren't marketable, or they're not really going to find an audience. And we can get into how right or wrong that is, but it is what it is. And so I wanted to take that into consideration. So I started thinking, when I woke up this morning, I was like, you know what I should do that would be like maybe a good in between. Like, I don't want to go this way where I squeeze the life out of and the passion out of my book, trying to make it fit what I think will sell. But I also don't want to write something that has zero chance of success on submission. Where's the happy balance? Like, how can I find my audience without and still make this the story I love? And I remembered, I don't know a lot about marketing at all, you guys, but one thing that a rule that I have come across again and again, and I think it's a very basic rule, is that when you are marketing anything, a product, any product at all, something that you want to sell, one of the first things you do is write a profile of your ideal consumer. And it has to be super detailed. I'm talking like, my ideal consumer is a 37-year-old Caucasian man who is divorced and has 3 children, and he's an engineer, and like that detailed. And a lot of people, myself included, balk at that because we want our products to appeal to everyone, our books to appeal to a wide range of readers. This is for everybody. This isn't just for that one guy who is that exact age and that gender and that blah, blah, blah. But that's not the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is to get you to focus on the product that you are trying to make. Of course you're going to market it to more than just that one person or that one type of person. So I thought it would help me if I forgot editors, because I'm not writing this for editors. I'm not writing this for my agent or my critique partners. I am not writing this for, sales teams who are going to decide at publishing houses whether they don't want to acquire my book. I'm not writing this story for them. Who am I writing it for? If I'm so worried about middle grade or young adult or whatever, like, what does my reader look like? And I thought writing that profile was going to be really, really hard for me. I mean, just like gender alone, I could go on a whole separate endless rant about how there are no boy books and girl books and kids can read about kids. But that's not the point of the exercise, again. I thought it was going to be really, really hard. So I asked myself this morning, okay, start thinking about this. This is going to take some time. Who is your ideal reader? And just immediately, I knew the answer. Yeah, I am doing it for 14-year-old Michelle. Specifically, 14-year-old Michelle. Freshman in high school Michelle. Why? Because that was the most awkward year in what I assure you was a very awkward life. I just landed on 14-year-old Michelle immediately. Part of that, and again, I'm going to get back into the market thing here, is that there aren't a whole lot of books out there with 14, 15-year-old protagonists, or even 13. It's not impossible to find a 13, 14, 15-year-old protagonist at all. But generally speaking, if you pick up a middle grade novel, the kid's going to be anywhere from 9 to 12 years old. And if you pick up a young adult novel, they're going to be 16 or up. There's a lot we could get into about why that is and how that tells booksellers where they are going to shelve the book in the young adult section or the middle grade section, which at least in the United States in bookstores here they're like in different parts of the store. So it's important to have that distinction. Again, there are books out there with those characters in that middle ground. It's just sometimes it's hard for booksellers to know if this protagonist is, say, 14 or 15, am I targeting middle grade readers or am I targeting teen readers? Knowing that kids always tend to like to read just a little bit up. So what does this tell me as I'm struggling here to not force my book to fit some sort of market, but also to at least give it a chance at being sellable? Well, I know now that 14-year-old Michelle is my target audience, like the most specific target I can come up with. And this is great for me because I don't have to write a profile because I know her pretty well. That doesn't necessarily mean that Logan is going to be a freshman in high school, although I could certainly see it working that way. She might be a little bit older. I have some work to do to play around with that, and with Haley's age too, the big sister, because her age is really important. She's even though she died before the start of the book, she really is like a very crucial character, and very much a presence still in Logan's life, and I need to do some thinking. I need to think about the dynamics that I have already kind of established between Logan and the side characters. I need to figure out which ones of them maybe need to be a bit older, or maybe their age can stay the same, and I really need to comb through the beginning of this zero draft carefully and look at it through this new lens of I am writing a young adult novel. So I don't know about you, but no matter whether I'm using like Scrivener or Microsoft Word, or in this case, the Save the Cat software, sometimes when I hit these points where I just need to rethink things, having just being on the screen at all makes me feel weirdly constricted. It's hard to explain. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to print out the zero draft that I have in its entirety, and I'm going to grab some pens, colored pens, because they make me happy, and I'm just going to sit with this away from my laptop, away from everything else, and read through it and write down all my thoughts on the manuscript. Any notes that come to me, anything new that comes to me, any changes I want to make, stuff I want to cross out. If something comes to me, I will handwrite it. Like if a new scene or anything like that comes to me, I'm going to handwrite it on that document and reassess and see where things are before I move forward. Because y'all know I don't like to I like to move fast. I like to draft fast when I have an idea that I'm really into. I don't like looking backwards. But when something like this happens, where you are rethinking something that's so crucial, like the target age level of your audience, or maybe the entire genre of your book, sometimes you have to stop for a second and you have to get your head right from the beginning and then move forward from there. So yeah, that is what I'm going to do. And I think that is going to be it for this week's vlog, even though I will surely be working on this Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Thank you for listening. If you made it to the end of this, thank you for bearing witness to my crisis. And I'm feeling more positive, and I'm sure I will feel excited soon now that I have figured this out. And I will update you guys on where things stand next week, and hopefully we can get that 0 draft done, because that goal I set for myself, I want to draft starting April 1st. Still want to do that. I'm not going to let this slow me down. In fact, I'm kind of hoping that when I go back to the beginning, and now that I have all of this in mind, I'm going to get through the 0 draft as fast as I can. So that's where things are. Please let me know how your writing is going. Again, thank you if you made it all the way through this video. I feel like I should give you a reward or something. Here's a dog sleeping. Hopefully that's enough of a reward for making it. I will see you guys on Monday with another video, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.